This is the first time I've done this report a day late. I'm doing this the morning after the day that I'm reporting on. And that's because last night I was that guy that I can't stand. That guy that's annoyed the heck out of me many times in the past when I've been camping. I was that guy who showed up at the campsite at 11 p.m. when everybody's all laid out, half the people, even more, are asleep. And I come noisily coming in, looking around for a campsite. I've been there before, in my sleeping bag. I'm about to fall asleep, and then I start hearing the noise of a car and see these headlights, and headlights fall on my tent, and some guy pulls in right next to me, and now I have a new neighbor at 11 o'clock when I was just about to fall asleep. You can hear every single word that they say. It's like they're standing right next to you, and they're going to spend the next hour and a half taking out their tent, setting it up, getting out some food, cooking it, maybe even getting some wood and making a fire. And especially if there's more than one of them, they talk. But anyway, I was that guy last night. I was very respectful and very quiet and very quick to get set up. But anyway, the reason for that is that I was on my ferry ride until about 12 o'clock, and that was fine. It was actually getting a little bit old. I was kind of glad that it ended what it did. It was just the perfect amount of time to lounge around and sleep in and eat and look out the window and go back to sleep. But I was ready for it to end. But it happened about noon. Got on the bike, and I was full of energy. I had gone through this spree of days where I had been staying in hotel rooms and sleeping in, and so I had plenty of energy. I'd only planned to do about 200 miles that day because I figured, well, it would only be like a half day starting at noon. But after the 200 miles that were up, I was thinking, hey, why stop now? It was only 3:30, 4 o'clock, something like that. So I just kept going and going and going, and I got in actually almost 500 miles. I started, of course, at Prince Rupert, where the ferry ends, and just went due east on the Yellowhead Highway. Everything went fine until I got to Prince George, and then there was this construction project. On this big intersection, there was a detour, and I got hung up there, and then I got lost in the detour. Instead of detouring, I ended up touring Prince George more than I really cared to. I finally got my way back on track, and then kept going past it. And then the next snag was that this campsite that was on my map, apparently the sign isn't there on the highway. I was pretty careful to look. But I just kept going and going until you reach that point where you go, well, I must have passed it because there's no way it could still be ahead. So I just keep going. I see a couple moose off on the side of the road. One of them ran across the highway. Thankfully, it was off to the side. It wasn't really in a very, it didn't run dangerously close, but it ran in front of across the highway in front of me. And then about 10 minutes later, there's another one. Then there was a big sign, big flashing sign. It's actually said, High Moose Collision Area. So anyway, I was taking it nice and slow, that whole part. And I just kept rolling along. And of course, here in these northern latitudes, it gets dark pretty late. So it was just barely light, just turning dark when it was about 11 o'clock. And I saw the sign finally for another campground. And it was considerably beyond that first one that I wanted to stop at. So then that's where that all began, where I drove into the campsite and wanted to just pick a place. And of course, it's been nice, empty campsites this whole time. This place is packed. I go in, I just wanted to take site number one. I rode in, site number one's taken, two's taken, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, they're all taken. And everybody's looking at you as you come in, of those who were still awake, which was maybe only a quarter of them. So, and then when you pull into your site and you turn off the engine, it's just dead silence. And everybody heard you coming from miles away. They probably heard me coming way down the highway. That heard me just get louder and louder and louder until I'm inside their campsite. Anyway, I'm really self-conscious about these things because I don't like it when people do it when I'm camping. But what can I say? That's the way it worked out. So anyway, I just laid out my sleeping bag out on the table. I didn't take out my tent or anything. Just laid right down on top of this picnic table, similar to this, and slept. And I didn't sleep too well because the bugs kept harassing me. Finally got late enough, maybe like 1 or something. It got cold enough that the mosquitoes went away, but there are these little tiny insects. I don't know what they were, but they were harassing me throughout the night, as well as flies. So I kept waking up. Anyway, that's the way camping is sometimes, hit and miss. I just woke up, got my stuff, was out of there, and hit the road for about a half an hour, and now I'm at a public rest stop. And this is great. I had made some oatmeal, having some coffee. There's a truck and a camper over there, but they're surely fast asleep and they can't hear me. I'm right next to this rushing river. So yeah, this is a really nice spot. These rest spots in British Columbia are quite nice. So yeah, look at this river. I mean, it's probably just called a creek, but by California standards, this would be a river. And nobody else is here, parked here in this part of the rest stop. It's just me. It's got a nice bathroom. And yeah. So that is it. I am on my way. After I finish this coffee, I'm going to get out of here and keep on moving east.